All right, tell me when you're ready. All right, just to start off, I'm going to talk about an investigation that we have. The investigation is still very ongoing and active. I am not going to be able to answer every question you have. I know you have a lot of information. Some of it is maybe accurate and some of it may be not, and I just can't corroborate that because we don't have all the answers yet. All right, but I'll go to the beginning and try to draw a picture of how we became involved in this investigation and where we are right now. So back last Friday, 1 week ago, 6/19, at the very morning hours, around 9 a.m., there was a vehicle parked in the 600 block of Market Street. It was a black BMW. In that vehicle was a male and a female. A park ranger who was on duty at the time notices the vehicle, believes a disturbance is occurring within the vehicle between the male and the female, and he decides to investigate. He goes up to that vehicle. When he's addressing the occupants, he hears what he believes the female say, "You're going to hurt me." At that point, that caused him to further investigate the vehicle. He talks to them. At some point in time, credentials are discovered on the male that were showed to be federal law enforcement officer, DEA officer, and he also was able to find a switchblade in his pocket. So that male was detained at that particular time, and the park ranger felt that there was illegal drug activity going on inside the vehicle. He then discovered 2 firearms. Both of them firearms were ultimately discovered to have obliterated serial numbers, and he began to speak to the female in the car also. At some point, that female produced identification. So because it is DEA identification, the proximity of where we were at, you got to remember last Friday we had our first game at the Lynx, so we had a lot of extra officers in Center City and patrolling the area. Federal officers, my task force officers, along with DEA special agent, went to where the park ranger was, and they began to conduct an investigation into what they had. They brought the individuals inside and began to talk to them. They discovered that the credentials that he produced were not real. They were false. They also discovered that the name on the identification card, even though it had the picture of the woman presenting it, was a name of a person that we had in our file as missing. I'm not going to give that name right now because we have to talk to that person's family before we put that out there. So that caused us to investigate this even further. That investigation led those special agent and the DEA task force officers to a location in Olney, where I know a lot of you have been, in the 400 block of West Chew, where they served a warrant inside that property. Now, when they got to that property, they discovered inside another firearm. It was a Palmer 80, 9mm. They also discovered a lot of ammo in the apartment and some narcotics. There was evidence on one of the floors of him possibly attempting to grow or produce narcotics on his own, like a grow operation. So much of that was seized at the time by the DEA agents, and they were able to charge Eugene Horsch, 44-year-old male, with weapons charges and narcotics. Now, the further search of this property produced some other things that we have a lot of questions about. There were, in the basement area of this property, chemicals, various chemicals in bottles. That was held. A different search warrant was conducted through the homicide unit because they're our most experienced investigators, and they went into that area to see what they could figure out what was occurring. They took our director of our lab with them as they went through there today. Some of these chemicals, if they would be put together and obviously ignited, they could cause some hazard. So that being said, we pulled out of there, and we now elicited the help of the FBI. The FBI is going to now come in with people from Quantico, and they're going to help us process the rest of this scene to see if we can determine what type of chemicals are in here and try to determine what this individual was doing with these chemicals. He's obviously doing some kind of work. There's a 55-gallon drum. There's connections to it going to water lines. We just don't know what he's doing, if he's he's producing something, if he's making something, if he's irrigating something, we don't know. So what we need to do now is to work hard to try to figure out what's occurring. I know there's a lot of things on social media and out there about what was in that house. What I'm telling you is a lot of that was not true. It was not true. This is, I'm giving you, like I said, there was over 120 pieces of ballistic evidence, other false identification with federal law enforcement, the chemicals, the material, and the evidence of, and the quantity of amount of chemicals is really what got us to get some help here to process this scene. There's chemical work being done, but we just don't know if he was trying to produce narcotics or some other material. So at this point, our investigation is still very active. He's in custody at this time. I know his attorney was speaking on his behalf. At this point, I just don't know where it's going to go. We're going to do everything we can to follow all our leads and see where we go next.
What's the worst case scenario with what you're uncovering now with these chemicals?
I don't want to speculate. I don't know. I mean, could he be trying to make some kind of explosive? It's possible. I have no idea. We don't know. I'm not the expert. We're going to bring the experts in. Our ordnance disposal people looked at it. He definitely had ingredients that could go in that direction, but without us knowing what's in each and every container, because a lot of them are plastic containers filled up, we're not going to know what everything is. So a lot of this stuff has to be tested, and until it's tested, we're not going to know exactly what we have.
Is there a danger for the community given those chemicals were there?
So our experts are saying right now they're separated, they're being protected by our officers. Until the experts get there and remove them safely, there's no danger at this point.
To be clear, some of those things that you were mentioning on social media about bodies being found.
I think
As far as your investigation, you found there were no bodies inside.
right, there's no apparent bodies inside the house. No, not bodies that I could see in the house. Now, we're going to further search. There's a sump pump that looks like a hole in the ground, but there's no bodies. No, I don't have any bodies.
Is there any type of homicide investigation going on right now with the subject in that house?
Now, we used homicide for a couple of reasons. The one discovery the DEA had was some urns that were in the house. In looking at them, now we of course took them for examination. In looking at them, at least one of them is labeled a family member's name, so they could be just family members' urns. We don't know. I'm speculating. So we took them out and we took them to RME's office to look at. But other than that, no, homicide's just doing it because they're our most experienced. They're working along with our TFOs from the FBI and the actual FBI agents.
I think that the neighbors are telling us, like, we're hearing 9 bodies, we're nervous.
No.
We talked to several neighbors. Can you relay their fears that we can have
At this time, I don't have any evidence of 9 bodies. If there's 9 bodies somewhere, they're not apparent to me. So like I said, until we get into the material, pull everything out and analyze it, we'll know more what we have.
Frank, is there anything consistent with the use of these chemicals at that site that reflects on the potential disposal of human remains?
I'm not the chemist. I mean, so obviously, I don't even know what all the chemicals are. We're speculating what some of them are. So until they're able to tell me once they test them what they are, we didn't kind of like dip our finger in to see what they do. So we're gonna be careful what we have and use caution. But it's definitely a strange setup. There's hoses coming from barrels and things like that. So enough to pique our interest, enough to move back and let our experts come in and help us.
You consider it a crime scene?
Yes, a crime scene. Obviously, we recovered guns from there. We have false IDs. This girl's carrying an ID from a missing person that she said he gave her. So we don't know where does he come up with that. All that stuff is something we're going to analyze.
The suspect who was arrested on, I think it was 619 at the Lincoln Park, was facing gun-related and drug-related charges. Could there be more charges for what was found at the home? And you found weapons as well?
Depending on what else we find, yes, we're going to move forward with charges. Right now, we have to collect all that evidence. But he's charged with having a weapon when he's not eligible. He's a convicted felon, obliterated serial number, plus he had enough narcotics to warrant the possession with the intent to deliver.
And those narcotics were found in the car at the BMW initially? Those narcotics?
No, some were found in the house.
Found in the house.
Yes.
Can I say, sorry, can you go through a little bit of what his criminal record is that you know about?
I know most of that's public. This most recent had to do with an assault of some kind, stabbing. that occurred within the city. He has charges outside the city and in the city, but I'm not going to get deep into that. You can see that in the public record.
Is there any indication of that missing woman was inside the house? Anything that can lead you to believe that she was employed there?
No, I have nothing to say she was ever inside the house, but of course, that's why we're still holding it, and we're going to look. But right now, I don't have anything that points to the fact that, other than he had enough information about her to create another identification with another woman's photo and her name, and make it look like it was the other person. And that person cooperated with us to say, this is not me.
Were there documents in the house that were tied to other women, or do you believe it's just this one missing?
We have some computer evidence that is being analyzed. I don't know what all that is. The DEA initially took possession of that. It's being transferred over. So we'll investigate that. But right now, I'm not aware of any more people that are missing that I have evidence of in the house.
And are you also aware if the department had responded to that house and other issues in the past?
I'm not totally aware. There were cases there. I mean, obviously, we already said he was arrested in the past. I don't think anything led us to believe, other than a normal call, disturbances, noise, things like that. But it was a quick look over like 10 years. So, and it was a various amount of calls, but nothing that was jumping. I think it was another arrest. He had a few arrests, as was asked of me already.
The chemicals found, any indication that they're used to make drugs?
It's possible. Each of them chemicals could make different things, could do different things. I just don't know what his intent was with them, and he has them all separated, and they're kind of self-contained in containers that he created, so we don't even know if we're actually looking at what we think we're looking at.
So he's arrested, all right, thank you. He's arrested last week, and there seemed to be a very public escalation of police activity over the last 24, 36 hours. Can you speak to what kind of set off the investigation into a really kind of accelerated level?
Well, our investigation led us to knowledge that there were hidden compartments and things like that, and that's what led us to the chemicals in the area. So we had to look for some of this in the house. It's pretty full of stuff at this house. So, well, there's like areas that he said, look here, look there. So once we got into those areas, we found other chemicals and hoses and, stuff that we don't even know what it is. So that's what caused it. I'm not going to say, he didn't tell us anything, but we got that information through the investigation.
Any indication there is other paraphernalia to produce drugs, like a lab equipment?
Well, he was attempting to or growing, I guess it would have been marijuana on one of the floors upstairs. So yes, he was definitely involved in narcotics in some way.
And was there a manifesto found inside?
I have nothing on that. No.
Was he the only one living inside that house, or were there other people?
I think this female we encountered with him currently was staying with him.
The circumstances of the missing person from 2023, anybody, I know you're not going to say her name, but is there anything about that case that you're led to believe that the person is no longer alive?
I don't, other than they're missing for several years, but I don't have anything that would make me believe that that person, anything else is but missing at this point.
Are there any concerns that he could have been doing this with other missing persons, or is that why the computer's being analyzed?
That's why we're analyzing all the evidence. There's always concerns when you see something like this that, we're heightened and looking at it. What is he doing at 6th and Market? I mean, we're in the middle of a time now where everything's going to be going on there. So why is he there? I have no idea.
Any indication of the relationship between this male and the female, or were they dating?
I don't know if it's boyfriend, girlfriend. I'm not sure.
They're not family members?
No.
Also, I guess, as you mentioned, obviously, we're preparing for the 4th of July, a lot of things happening in the city. Getting this guy in custody, we don't know what his plan was, but this happening prior to July 4th,
Well, that's why the Rangers are down there. That's their area. They patrolled it. We have extra federal agents out here. We've been telling you that. Those federal agents and our officers responded right away and started this investigation. So.
Right, numerous sources over the last 24 hours, both from prosecutors and federal government, gave us information that the Philadelphia Police Department, whoever was in that house, was certainly in a posture looking for possible human remains. Did this begin in that sort of, was that your forward?
No, I think the posture was, when we went in there, was to look for the narcotics, whatever he had going on. He had federal DEA credentials. So we wanted to know what he was doing, what he had. And obviously, the identification of a missing girl and the name of the missing girl. So it's certainly concerning, but I don't know what, at this point, we need to figure out what all this evidence amounts to.
Are you the lead on the case now?
Homicide's going to take the lead right now, and the FBI is assisting us.
So, Chief, can you just give me the timeline again? So he was arrested on 6/19 at the park at 6.
Friday morning.
Friday morning.
Right.
And then a search warrant, and then
Yeah, and then as the weekend progressed, the DEA went to the location. They recovered more evidence, charged them with narcotics charges. The investigation pressed on during the week, at which time homicide and others, our crime scene unit, went back to the location. We found a quantity of chemicals, which caused us to stop yesterday at some point, and we're going to get the FBI involved today.
that was yesterday when
Yes.
large quantities of chemicals
Where
were found,
we see them, yes.
and then he called the FBI.
Right, and they decide they're going to come up from Quantico and help us.
Any reason to believe explosives are being made?
Let's put it this way, I'm not a chemist, but from what I've been told, if some of those chemical materials would have been put together, they could have been explosives.
There were reports of a missing persons case related to the ex-wife of the suspect's father. Is that something the department's looking at?
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stuff we're looking at. I don't have any specifics on that, and I'm not going to name any other missing people, but his father's deceased, from what I understand. So we're certainly going to look into the activities that went on at that house even before he was there.
And then is there any evidence that the suspect was actually living in this home? Did you guys get a sense if this was somewhere that people were living?
I think he was living there, yeah. I think that's his residence. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.